Meeting to order. You got BJ unmuted. And start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A little echo there. Well, good morning. If anybody chimes in, we don't know who they are, we will probably stop and ask for the minutes. Pardon me?
There's a new one down at the bottom.
Person ending in 4545, I need you for the minutes.
You got Nick Point here.
Okay, did you get that?
What's the last name?
What, last name again?
Boink, B-O-E-Y-I-N-K.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else? I have one that just says Cody.
Cody Smith. Codysmith.
Thank you. Oh, which one? Guadalupe. I need a last name. There's a Guadalupe on there. You should be unmuted.
It's actually Betty Dossman.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Uh, 1620.
Laura Cunningham.
Thank you. I think that's everybody. Then I will go to the approval of today's agenda.
Make a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll second that, Lance.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. We have a new one that just bounced in. 8397. Phone just came in. Who's on there?
Hello?
Yeah, I need you for the minutes. I need your name.
Okay, this is Christine Burks.
Christine? Thank you, Christine. Next we have is the approval of the minutes of 5/6/2020.
Lance, I make a motion to approve the minutes for May 6, 2020 as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is approval of claims for payment of 5/20/2020.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims for payment for May 20th, 2020.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We have a COVID update 19. Do we want to do this now or later?
If Thomas isn't on, maybe we can put that.
Is up, but Rocky is.
Oh,
Rocky's
Rocky.
on.
All right.
Rocky?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So just to kind of provide a quick update, we've still been meeting every week in the EOC, Thomas, Renee, Dave, and myself. Yesterday we held a meeting with the judges and magistrate for Hardin County just to kind of discuss our plans going forward to get those services back up and running and what it's going to look like. And then also for the public health updated numbers, I still am posting every day on Facebook, but they're actually updating the website live now, so you can take a look at it anytime, and it's got some good information on there. So I think that's it.
All right,
Thank you, Rocky.
Thank you.
Next I have is utility permits. I have a utility permit.
I'll make a motion to approve utility permit UT-20-023 for underground lines from Heart of Iowa Communications.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Secondary roads.
Nothing important to say. We do have our big culvert on D55 today. I've given them the green light to work until about 9 o'clock tonight if they want, because if we can get it open for the night, I'd rather do that. So that's the current plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yep.
So I am past my 9:02 timeline, and I will go ahead and open the public hearing for the consideration of the Zoning Commission's recommendation amendment to Article 23 of Ordinance Number 29. The public hearing is open. Let's take everybody off mute and they can speak. Unmute themselves. This is something that's been in progress for a while, and this is what the Zoning Commission has brought to us.
Lance?
Yes.
This is Donna.
Donna, go ahead.
Unfortunately, there was no attachment in the agenda to explain what this is, what the amendment is. Could you please explain that?
This is the amendment to the windmills. There have been some changes that they've done. There's 4 major changes that have happened. One is the wind turbine setback requirements, the increased developer financial responsibility requirements, increased developer decommissioning requirements, and an increased submission requirements to producers for conditional use permit. Setback distances, I believe, Daryl, do you want to talk on these, or you know these by heart, I think?
Daryl or Jess, either one.
Or Jess?
Daryl, if you want me to.
Jess? Okay. No, you're fine.
Okay, so, well, maybe I need the other one to know what they originally were, but I can tell you what they're being changed.
I think I can tell you what they originally were as you go through each one.
Okay, so, we are changing the property line setback requirement to 2 times the total height.
Originally, there was no setback, just that the blade would not encroach upon the property.
No overhang.
Right.
Okay. Changing the dwelling unit setback to 3 times the total height or the manufacturer's recommended safety setback distance, whichever is greater.
Currently, it's 2 times.
Right, yeah. And then to non-dwelling units would be, we're changing it to 2 times the total height, which I don't think there was.
I don't believe we have any on that right now.
No, I don't think there was a requirement before. The public right-of-way and communication or electrical lines, we're changing that to 2 times the total height, which I believe originally that was 1.1 times the total height. And actually, well, we'll just stick with this for now. Changing cemeteries to 2 times the total height. And then other wind energy conversion systems, so other wind turbines, basically they just need to be, well, we have it as 1.1 times the total height of turbine 1 plus the 1.1 times the total height of turbine 2, so that if they fall over, they can't run into each other, and there's enough distance, like a safety distance.
Okay.
Those are the 7.
Okay. Donna, did you catch all that?
Yes, sir, I did. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. There were some other changes also.
Yes.
What about this financial thing? They have to pay money ahead of time. How much is that? What is that?
So there are actually a few places in the ordinance that have a financial responsibility requirement. But mainly, it is in the decommissioning requirements. There is a, hold on, sorry.
You mind if I jump in?
Yeah.
This is Daryl. Currently, I believe it states that in year 15 of a turbine's lifespan, then the developer or owner of the unit would have to develop or get approval on how they're going to decommission. At the time, I believe they probably had a 20-year lifespan. So basically, once you reach 5 years left, the original ordinance said that's when you have to kind of prove what you're going to do with this when it runs out of its lifespan. And one of the changes we've made is that we want to know up front, not wait until year 15, but we want to know up front, and that financial responsibility needs to be agreed upon up front. So that's one of the major changes. We don't want to wait 15 years before we know what you're going to do with these. We want to know up front.
Is there a similar ordinance or financial responsibility commitment for CAFOs, hog factories, or chicken factories? And if so, why not?
Julie, we're not talking about those in this meeting.
But when you have it, one financial responsibility commitment in one industry, it would seem that it should cover others. But thank you.
We just don't have we don't have the jurisdiction over that. That's been taken over by the state. So I think we would not have jurisdiction to do that.
I see.
Lance, I have a question.
Donna?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the financial commitment, how are these funds held and where?
So the financial resources can be proven, I suppose you would say, in cash reserves.
Even in the original, the existing ordinance, that is something that there would be an agreement. There'd have to be an agreement in place. And we retained that kind of language. But the monies, the intention of the amendment is that the money would be held in an escrow. It would not be spent. It would be sort of like a landlord's deposit. That was the intention, I think, of the language that was chosen. The money is going to be sitting there to be used whenever it's needed. And it may not be needed in year 30, it may be needed in year 2 if a tornado comes along, and here we'd have a bunch of broken windmills. What are you going to do? Well, project's done. Now we have the solution, we have the funds to fix it. We don't have to wait. We're like a landlord with a deposit.
Are these funds then held in individual separate accounts, or are they held in a lump account?
We'll probably have to consult with the auditor about how they want to manage these. Since each of these windmills is going to be a separate taxable entity, that may be unnecessary to keep them all separate. But I'm sure it can be done either way. Just that's going to have to be part of the agreement then that we work out with the developer and consult with the auditor as to what's easier to manage and track.
My concern is that when it comes to, for example, security deposits, when I was doing accounting, you could not keep deposits in a general account that was interest bearing, because you then had to separate each unit's interest earned. That's my only concern.
That would probably be,
How the accounting on that would be done.
that would probably be determined by our audit firm too, or I mean, in correspondence with them, don't you think? I mean,
Yeah, I appreciate your thoughts on that. We don't want it to be like Social Security.
right.
Excuse me?
You know how Social Security, they take your money and they put it in the general fund. There's no trust fund. There's no lockbox. This would be in a separate lockbox.
I see. Thank you.
Lance, this is Bob Havens.
Bob, go ahead.
Is there a definition of turbine height in this document, and what would that be?
A definition of turbine height. The turbine height would be
Turbine height is when we're using setback requirements, it'll be the total height, which is from the base of the wind turbine to the tip of the blade at its highest point.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions?
I would like to note that the ordinance is on our website under the zoning page. Unfortunately, it looks like it didn't get put on our agenda, but it has been on the website for weeks and weeks. So it's
And
not
it was
like
published.
And it was published in the newspaper, so it hasn't been available for public viewing.
Hey, Jessica,
Yeah.
published in the newspaper, you need a magnifying glass, and I have tried to find that thing on the website.
Yeah, it can only be like 8-point font or something, and there's crazy rules, so.
Yeah, for legal publications,
Yeah, it's like a state rule.
right.
Were there any other public comments? We've had numerous written comments, phone calls, people in favor and against.
Micah has a comment up there regarding the ordinance.
Oh, she was sharing where it is. Yes, that's it.
It's a hyperlink, so they can just click on it. I'll take them straight to it.
Okay. Any other comments? Thanks, Micah.
Yes, and yes, Micah, that's the document.
Again, this is a public hearing. This is a chance for all public to speak. I'm not hearing any other public comments, questions, or statements.
Yes, can I make a statement?
Yeah. Who do I have?
This is Steve listed.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Just a few comments and questions. First of all, I guess I get the general feeling that if you do this, that it'll mean that people in the future, companies in the future, will no longer build turbines, wind turbines in Hardin County. Is that kind of the reason for this?
No.
No.
You realize it'll keep people. I mean, why would companies build in Hardin County if they have easier rules or what they would call normal rules in other counties? Why would they? It's more costly to build in Hardin County. Why would they build in Hardin County?
It's a good question. Again, on the public hearing, it's not a debate back and forth. I'm here to hear the public comments.
Well, I'm not debating. I'm just asking, why do you want to make it tougher for companies to build in Hardin County than other counties?
Okay, this is an ordinance that was brought to us by our zoning board. And this is the first, let me just explain how this is. This is for us to either agree to, or if there's things that need changed in this, this is the opportunity before it's approved that we, the board, before we approve it, we can either accept it or make changes. So if your questions on any of these things that are saying that these wind turbines, they don't want to build here because of anything in this ordinance, can you be more specific so I have an idea what you're talking about? As far as not telling, we've had an ordinance put in play before. These are just...
Anything that costs more, for instance, that would dissuade them from building in Hardin County. So any of the things that you've talked about, anything that makes it harder to build because of distances and the like, that eliminates lots of sites. I mean, almost everything you have in there makes it more difficult.
Okay.
The purpose of increasing our setback requirements is to try to protect our citizens and protect our infrastructure. It's not that we're trying to prevent wind turbine companies from coming to our county. They could have gone to a county that doesn't even have a wind turbine ordinance and put up whatever they wanted. We already have a wind turbine ordinance in place. Yes, we have a moratorium, but we've had one since 2012. So they could have gone somewhere that doesn't even have one and didn't have any requirements. So obviously they want Hardin County for some reason.
But these are new, and it could dissuade the ones that are already trying to come into the county or others to come into the county. Also, your point about tax revenue and that my understanding is, like in Grundy County, the county enjoys, I'll say a windfall, if you will, from those, and it helps tremendously with the budgets. One of the problems I have right now is that the gravel roads are horrible, and I know there's been lots of additional rock that's been put on them, but they're still horrible. And we have all kinds of problems with the gravel roads. And I would think the county would want additional tax revenue. Another point that I would make is that it somewhat takes away from the rights of landowners, that if you're making it very difficult for companies to come in and build windmills, that makes it, impossible for landowners to enjoy what could be an additional revenue stream in very tough times. These are some of the consequences that may be unforeseen. I don't know, they may be foreseen, but they're some of the consequences of what you're proposing to do.
I guess I would just have a couple of comments on that. I'm not disagreeing with anything that you say. But when you compare to like Grundy County, I believe Hardin County is a lot different and has a lot more natural resources that personally I like to see protected. So I don't know that you can really compare ordinances between counties because of the various things that each county has to take into consideration. And also, when you mentioned that landowners enjoy the revenue for leasing this, I've gotten a number of emails, phone calls from landowners that want to continue to enjoy the peace and quiet of their property, knowing that their neighbor has signed a lease, that they also want to enjoy their property as it is without the flashing and the lights and the sound and all that. So those are the things that I feel need to be protected in our ordinance also. It's a two-way street. I mean, and we've gotten a number, or I know I've gotten a number of emails for them and against them. So it's having to weigh both sides of the situation. But I do appreciate your comments.
What about in terms of property taxes and the inability to adequately take care of roads.
I'm not going to disagree that the revenue would be good. I've also never been one to make all my decisions based on money. That's personal opinion.
Steve, I'd like to thank you for your comments. I take them all to consideration.
I agree.
You're not the first one to ask most of these questions already.
Right.
But I'm just sitting here listening, so.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
That I know too that some of this smacks to me of not in my backyard, that there's a huge push for clean energy, clean renewable energy, and obviously wind energy fits that to a T. And the problem being that if every county or whatever decides, well, I don't mind the energy, that's fine, but I don't want it in my county. Well, if everybody's like that, is that not in my backyard? And to me, that's not a very fair way of embracing renewable energy.
Lance, Kurt Groen, may I make a comment?
Go, Kurt.
Vesta, whatever it is, that one of the largest manufacturers of turbines in the United States, and their safety manual specifies a no stand distance of 400 meters or roughly 1,300 feet, which is way under what the proposed setback is. And then for uncontrolled operation and fire, their recommendation is 500 meters, or I think it's 1,600, just a little over 1,600 feet. So our setbacks that we're proposing are way under what their safety manual specified. As a matter of fact, in an instance where there's an uncontrolled operation or the thing's coming apart, they're supposed to get out there and mark it off 500 meters out to keep people away.
Okay, thank you.
This is Brett Dablinski. Can I make a couple of quick comments here?
Yes, go, Brett.
Thank you. I'm with Frederickson and Byron Law Firm, and I represent RWE Renewables. And I just wanted to point out that we're not planning on making a lot of presentation today. We provided some written comments to the county, and we appreciate the county's acceptance and review of those. But I do want to point out on that Vestas issue, Vestas has released a letter to the industry and to others specifically withdrawing that particular recommendation, which we certainly can provide, because they found that it was being misused, that it has nothing to do with zoning setback distances, that it's very specific for responses to particular circumstances. And so they actually have withdrawn the material that Mr. Groen is referring to. So again, we're happy to provide that advisory to the county, and we can do that. My understanding is that there will be subsequent meetings and subsequent opportunities, but we will provide that information.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Jake Kensner. Can I say a few things?
Sure, go ahead.
Great. My name is Jake Kensner. I'm with the Iowa Conservative Energy Forum, and we're a nonprofit forum to support clean energy solutions that benefit the Iowa economy. And I just wanted to quickly add that we respectfully ask for you guys to revisit the ordinance and consider a more streamlined process for wind development and setback amounts that are more in line with other counties. A setback of 1,250 to 1,500 feet from occupied residences and 1.1 times turbine height from property lines are proven setbacks that provide a buffer for people living near turbines while still enabling projects to proceed. And we believe wind energy has been a huge economic success story in Iowa, and we believe Hardin County shouldn't be left out. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Yep. Who's on the zoning board?
The commission or the board of adjustment?
The commission.
Commission that approved recommendation of the ordinance, Julie.
What are the names of the people on the zoning commission?
Kurt Groen, Katie Reichschneider, Trent Stalzer, Stan Granzow, and
Heidi
Young.
Okay, thanks.
Did you see BJ's comment too?
Yeah, it says remind the audience we have a variance board. Are there any other public comments? Any other public? Well, with no more public comments, I could ask a motion to come out of public hearing.
I'll make a motion to come out of public hearing.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. We are out of the public hearing. From this point, we have an option. We can either approve this ordinance, or we could look to table this ordinance. If there's things that we need to change, we should probably table this and move to a work session to go over the things that we want to change in this.
Lance, I'd go ahead and make a motion upon advisement of legal counsel to table the first consideration of the amendment to ordinance 29.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion is tabled. Now that it is tabled, I believe we should probably set a time for a work session. What works? I have everybody here. What works for Daryl, you two? Jess, I think you better be there.
You can do
Friday? Friday? BJ?
Yes, sir.
Renee? What time do you guys want to meet at?
It would probably have to be after 10 o'clock for me.
At
I haven't-
10 or after 10?
I have a 9 o'clock appointment that should last no longer than an hour.
So
How about 10:30 to be safe?
Sure.
10:30
On Friday? Okay.
on this Friday.
Is that, oh,
So let's go ahead and put 10:30 as a work session on Friday. And this will be over adopting any changes or proposed amendments.
okay.
And at that time, if we do any changes, we would then have a meeting set up for next Wednesday to set the time and date.
So at the work session, you wouldn't technically be able to
Make a
take
motion.
any action. So I think I would recommend that you then have, on the heels of that work session, if there is any action that the board wants to take, should set that meeting to follow immediately afterward, right after the work session, so you could, as a board, adopt any vote to make any changes. Then, and then you'd set another public hearing so that there'd be an opportunity for the public to view and comment whatever changes the board has made. So I think for Friday, do the work session, but also have actually a meeting to consider and vote on any changes that might arise out of that work session. So it's kind of take it one step at a time here.
Okay. Angela, do you have that down for the? Okay.
And then would all of that have to be republished?
If there was a change,
Before
it
we
would
have a
have to be
public hearing
republished.
again, or for the first reading of it?
I think it would be better if there was some notice published. We could, I think we can, because of the way we're doing it and the amount of public hearings we've already had, this would be basically the second public hearing, one being at the zoning commission. Now this one, the changes, we could do more of a summary rather than a full-blown, full-page publication. We can actually just do a summary.
Okay.
The code permits that.
All right.
Donna, let's go ahead and field your question here.
Yeah, Lance, will this work session meeting be a Zoom meeting or not?
I want it to be a Zoom meeting. Obviously, it'll probably be muted to everybody to speak, but it's a work session for us. But everybody, it's a public meeting. Anybody should be able to Zoom in.
You know, I was simply interested in hearing the conversation.
Nope, that's fine. It should be Zoomed.
It will be the same login information as our regular Board of Supervisors meetings.
Hey, Donna, it will be the same login as our regular meetings. I'm just seeing if anybody else had any comments up there. So from there, we can move forward to my next page. We have on the agenda is a large-scale industrial development incentive policy.
Yeah, so basically what my board and myself are trying to do is get ourselves ready for future development in Hardin County. And this is one of the resources that we intend to use. So a month ago, I want to say, we passed the commercial tax abatement policy. This is the same premise but ramped up for larger production. So this basically is for any project that has at least $100 million in assessed value. We would go in and abate their taxes basically. So for the first year, they would only pay 10% of their net acquisition cost. All the way down through year 5, they would scale it. They'd basically pay 10% more up until year 5. Years 6 through 10, they'd pay 60% of their net acquisition cost, and then years 11 plus, they'd pay 100%. Same thing as our previous policy. We require that they retain 10 full-time jobs over the life of their agreement. If they don't retain those jobs, then they won't get that benefit for that year, so they'd have to pay their full net acquisition cost. It also requires that they remain in full compliance with the Hardin County zoning ordinances and our drainage policies that were established at the time of their building permit. So if we went through and changed them on year 5 on them and they weren't in compliance anymore, we wouldn't be able to do anything. However, the basis of this is for us to provide property tax relief, but also have a way to govern them. They'd obviously have to be in a development agreement with us, so whatever we said in that development agreement, they'd have to abide by it. Currently, anyone can come in and build anywhere, but we don't really have any say over it, so this provides us the protection, and also provides a very, very, very substantial benefit to people who want to come in and build. This could apply to any sort of project. This could apply to like a Prestige that wanted to come in, a Cargill that wanted to come in. The windmill farm could even fall under this. Basically providing us the opportunity to provide some benefit for people who want to come in. I think it'll be a really useful recruiting tool. So what questions?
And one of the main requirements is that they have to retain 10 full-time positions.
Yep, at the very least. That seems low, but when you think of it, this is very sticky. When you think of it, it's likely going to be like an automated plant that's coming in, you know, what have you. Obviously, if like a Prestige came in, they would have a lot of jobs. But yeah, the basis, they need to have at least 10. So my board met on Monday and reviewed this. Daryl's reviewed it. So their recommendation to you guys and my recommendation to you guys is to pass this and put this in place, just so we can start recruiting as soon as possible.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the large-scale industrial development incentive program.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Donna has a question again.
Donna?
How come it won't work?
Now am I unmuted?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. When you're talking large scale industrial development, you mentioned Prestige, you mentioned Cargill, and you say minimum of 10 people working. When it comes to economic development, how does that help the citizens if only 10 people can work there? It's like Amazon down in Des Moines, I think it was Amazon, that built this huge warehouse facility with millions of dollars of goodies from the state, and they hired 50 people.
Right. This policy isn't limiting it to only 10 people can work there. Obviously, we would love to have as many people employed there as possible. However, my entire job is creating tax base, and this is a tool to do that. So it puts money back into the county, back into the roads, back into the infrastructure, back into all those sorts of things that people need to live, work, and play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then it's a county tax base feature rather than a Hardin County citizen employment feature.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Probably more so, but the 10 full-time is the minimum that they would have to meet for full-time positions. But yes, from year one, they do pay on 10% of the value, and then, like she said, that goes up each year,
Right.
which is, I mean, those are pretty standard, I think, incentives that counties offer. So,
Julie has a question.
I was just wanting to make sure that it was not necessarily employment-based is all. I do have one other question. Is there anything like this, for example, for small businesses rather than large corporations?
Yep, there are plans in place to have policies for all sorts of businesses, industries, what have you. It just is taking the time to focus on what we need right now versus what can wait a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road.
And you could do a development plan with anybody at any time.
Yeah, so we could do a development agreement with anyone at any time. We have that commercial tax abatement policy that could apply to any business, large or small. This is just geared towards larger development, because that's obviously what grows the tax base the most when you have bigger forms of development.
Sometimes small business and mom and pop businesses do a lot too.
I don't disagree with that, Donna. I really don't.
Okay, thank you.
Julie has a question, and Christopher Weaver.
Julie, go ahead with yours.
So did you say like $100 million, and what in the first year, what would be the tax break? How much would, give me an example, give me a dollar amount of the taxes they would not have to pay, considering we will have absolutely revenue issues coming.
Let me try to take a run at this one. If the tax valuation or the tax assessment was 100 million, the first year they would only pay as if the value was 10 million. I'd have to ask the auditor what that would actually mean in terms of generating revenue for the county, but I think that's how this scale is set to tax on a percentage of the actual taxable value.
Above and beyond what we were already getting for taxes.
Right, this would be incremental.
Give me an example of an amount. Does anybody have it?
We don't have the amount, Julie, because we don't know.
If it were $100 million, just, you know.
What's the levy rate?
It depends on the levy rate, and that depends on
35
what town or township you live in. So.
Yeah, so.
It was in Iowa Falls.
I don't have those levy rates right here. I don't.
I think that's something we looked at, actual amounts. What are we talking here? People need to know. People need to know those things. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chris Weaver.
Chris had a comment.
I just wanted to say to you guys that this is the kind of legislation that really inspires me as a citizen of Hardin County. When you're looking forward, thinking about future industry and opportunity, how to draw business to Hardin County for growth and for success. I just think kudos to the board and to the area development and the staff that's working to get this kind of legislation passed. It's smart. It's not making any promises to anyone, but it's encouraging business to locate in Hardin County, and I just think it's great. I also want to say thank you for taking the ordinance process into your own hands and making final judgments and final decisions on behalf of the county, as is your responsibility. So I just wanted to say kudos to you guys for the good work you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing no more, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is the receipt of animal feeding operation construction permit, FERRIS site section 16, Ellis Township. They failed. This is one that failed, and they have resubmitted.
Okay, you're in the Tri-B.
So we're just acknowledging.
Okay.
Lance, I'll go ahead and acknowledge receipt of FERRIS pork site, section 16, Ellis Township, as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to make sure that our public understand that Jessica Sheridan will go back through and fully examine this application again and consult with any subject matter experts as needed.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now we can set time and date for the public hearing on the FERRIS site, section 16 of Ellis Township. Jess gave us a couple times that would work and fit into our calendar. June 3rd, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
I'll make a motion to set June 3rd at 10 a.m. for the public hearing on the FERRIS pork site.
It's been moved. I will go ahead and second that. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? That would be down in the conference room or by Zoom.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, sir.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is, I'm kind of losing track here. Receipt of the animal feeding operation construction permit Tri-B site, Section 8. Section 8 of Alden Township.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the animal feeding operation construction permit for the Tri-B site.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now we have a set time and date for the public hearing on the Tri-B site.
I'll make a motion to set June 3rd at 11 a.m. for the public hearing on the Tri-B site.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is a motion to adopt and substitute policy for the public hearing under Chapter 459, replacing policy adopted by Resolution 2020-05. And this is how we will do our public hearings and for hog sites.
CAFOs.
Correct. It, probably in how it will actually apply, you won't really notice any change, but what this has done is kind of address some of the public comments that bubbled up immediately after the adoption of the resolution back, I think, in January. And at that time I had said, you know, we could probably make some changes, but then there weren't any made, and maybe the last few applications under 459 has kind of brought it back to people's consciousness about our policy, and I did receive some additional public comments about some of the language, and so I've basically stricken out some of the language that may have seemed a little restrictive to the public. Took out any specific references to Chapter 459 for any perceived limitation that might have on public comment, because even though we talked about comment being limited to 459, that chapter also references the matrix, which the matrix considers things outside of Chapter 459, and so there was some confusion. So to eliminate that confusion, I've taken out reference to 459 for the comments, and added some language that would actually sort of, I guess, capture all legal arguments that could be made against an application. So that's what this modified policy does. It strikes out some of the language that continue to raise concerns in the public. So I'm just trying to eliminate that sort of confusion or perceived restriction, so that's the basis for the changes.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt and substitute the policy on public hearing under Chapter 459.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I think Daryl cleared it all up. Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Renee.
Aye.
BJ.
Aye.
Lance.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is appoint the IGHCP Board Alternative Representative, alternate representative. I know BJ said he would do it. BJ, you still willing to be an alternate?
Yeah, I'm just fine with that. Otherwise, if we want to keep Becca Junker in the loop, since she's handles that on a more frequent basis, I wouldn't be offended by that whatsoever either.
Okay, I did talk to Jessica and Becca, and I think since Becca will be actually doing the payroll end of this and working with IGHCP, I would just like to keep that within the auditor's office.
I agree.
So I will make a motion to appoint Becca Junker as the alternate representative on the IGHCP board.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no more, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now I have is a change of status for RVM.
Lance, I'll make a motion approving the hiring of Paul Martin at the rate of $20 an hour as a roadside vegetation specialist, effective May 26, 2020.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Taylor does have a comment there, 25 cents per hour raise after a 6-month probationary period and 50 cents per hour raise after passing the required certifications.
Which comes first, 6 months or certifications?
That's why I kept them separate.
Okay.
Yeah, whichever one's first happens.
Okay. Any other discussion? Why don't we wait for the public comments on that? Any other discussion? Hearing no more, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now I have a change of status in the sheriff's office.
I will make a motion to approve the change of status for the resignation of Rochelle Kozlovska as a correctional officer, and last day of work was April 21st, 2020.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. I have one more here.
Then I will make a motion to approve the change of status for the hiring of Jacob Allen Sweet as a correctional officer. The change is effective May 20th of 2020. And that will be at $15 an hour.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now let's go to public comments. You can now unmute yourself for public comment.
Lance,
Donna?
this is Donna. I have a question regarding the Paul Martin thing. It says he gets a 50-cent an hour raise after passing required certifications. Is this something he has to pay for, or does the county pay for this?
Go ahead, Taylor.
Yep, the county usually pays for that. I've had other employees that do the same thing. It's not expensive by any means.
Okay.
And if you fail, you can go take it again the next day. It's just up in Island Falls. It's pretty simple.
Okay, so currently being hired, he has no accredited certifications?
Correct. None of our applicants did. There were some with experience, but every applicant, nobody was current on any of this stuff. It had either expired or they haven't had it before.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comments?
Yes, I have a public comment.
Julie.
From Rocky, has anyone yet determined how soon employees at the training school are allowed to go back if they've tested positive, and in other state places like the vet's home, if someone tests positive for COVID, how long is it before they are sent back to work untested?
Julie, if they are asymptomatic, they can go back to work 10 days after testing positive for COVID, unless they develop symptoms during that time.
Is that what the CDC recommends? I thought it was at least 2 weeks.
The CDC and IDPH both recommend the 10 days as long as you're asymptomatic that entire time.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other public comments? Any other business? Hearing none, I could ask for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved second.
Lance, this is Donna.
Donna?
I'd just like to thank Daryl Meyer for revising that resolution. I appreciate it a great deal.
All right, thank you. So, motion second. All in favor say aye.
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 We're adjourned.